Hi, this is Kevin at the Virtual Planetarium at Raritan Valley Community College. Welcome to our weekly star talk. Today we're going to be learning about the Summer Triangle, which is a very easy group of stars to find during this time of the year. But before we get into that, let's start talking about our moon phases. We have a new moon on July 9th. We have first quarter moon on July 17th, and then the full moon of the month is going to be on July 24th. Like I said, today we're going to be talking about something called the Summer Triangle, which is a group of stars that we can find very easily during this time of the year. Right now we have our planetarium sky set up for about 10:30 at night, but this group of stars is visible just after it gets completely dark. If you look towards the east, we have the E in front of us right here for east, and you look up in the sky, you're going to notice three very bright stars. These three very bright stars right here are what make up what we call the Summer Triangle. This first star down here is called Deneb, then this one up here is called Vega, and the one down here is called Altair. Now these three stars, like I said, make up the Summer Triangle, but the Summer Triangle is actually not a constellation. The Summer Triangle is what we call an asterism, which is an unofficial group of stars in the sky. However, each one of these stars do belong to their own constellation. The first star, Deneb, down here belongs to the constellation of Cygnus the Swan. And this is one of the few constellations that actually looks like what it's supposed to be. And we have this line right here is the tail of the swan. Then we have the long neck of the swan. And then we have the wings spread off out here to the side. So we can actually see that it kind of does look like a swan flying in the sky. Now the second star in the Summer Triangle, the brightest one of the Summer Triangle, is this one up here called Vega. And Vega belongs to its own constellation called Lyra. And Lyra is supposed to be a musical instrument. I don't know if this looks like a lyre to you, but if we put up the artwork, hopefully that'll make it a little easier to see. But a very neat thing about the constellation of Lyra is that if you look right down here in between these bottom two stars and you point even a small telescope in this part, you're going to see a little fuzzy patch right there. But if you were to take a picture of this fuzzy patch, it's going to look a little something like this. Now this right here is something we call the Ring Nebula. It is a beautiful nebula that we can see again with just a small telescope, and this is what we call a planetary nebula. It's a very misleading name because it has absolutely nothing to do with planets. It's called a planetary nebula because when early astronomers looked at these, they thought they looked a little colorful like planets, so they thought mistakenly that these were planets in the sky. But we now know that these are not planets. These are giant clouds of gas and dust in space that are actually leftovers from a dead star. So if you look very closely right here in the middle, we see a very faint white dot, and this is the leftover dead star. This is something we call a white dwarf. And then what we see around here, these beautiful colors in the gas, are actually the outer layers of the star that were pushed out over a long period of time. Something like this is actually what's going to happen to our sun. So our sun isn't big enough, so when it dies, it's not going to go supernova. It's actually just going to slowly expand and slowly push out its outer layers until we get a little something like this. Of course, this is going to happen in about 5 billion years, so it's not something we have to worry about, but it's something that if we look at our sun from some other star, we might be able to see something like this, which is really cool. And again, this gem is hidden right here, just below between these bottom two stars of the constellation of Lyra. And then the third star in the Summer Triangle is this bottom star right here called Altair. And this star belongs to its own constellation of Aquila the Eagle. Now this really doesn't look much like an eagle, so let me help you out a little bit with your imagination. And here we have the third constellation that belongs to the Summer Triangle, Aquila the Eagle. Now, a really neat thing about this first constellation, Cygnus, that I forgot to mention earlier, is that it looks like it's flying. But you also notice that there's a very fuzzy patch here in the sky. This right here is our Milky Way Galaxy, and in a really dark place, you can see it run from right over here all the way across the sky. But it's not always easy to tell what's the Milky Way and what's a cloud. But an easy way to find what direction the Milky Way is running is to use the constellation of Cygnus the Swan. And what we say is that the swan flies south for the summer. And we can see that Again, this constellation looks like it's flying, but the swan is actually flying in the direction of the Milky Way. So the direction the swan is facing actually tracks the Milky Way in the sky. So if you ever have a doubt of a fuzzy thing you're seeing in the sky, it might be a cloud or it might be the Milky Way, you can use Cygnus' swan, and the neck and the swan is actually guiding you towards the very center of the Milky Way, which is right over here, and it's something we're going to talk about in next week's video, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Hope you learned something new. Definitely try to go outside and look towards the east just after it gets dark. It doesn't have to be around 10:30. You can go out like 9:30. And these stars are really bright, so they're actually visible before it gets completely dark. And see if you can piece together the summer triangle. That's the easy one. And then see if you can find each of the 3 constellations. If you like this video, please give us a like, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Like I said, next week we're going to be talking about the very center of our Milky Way, which is currently up in the sky and easy to see if you're in a dark location, so check that out. Thank you so much for joining again, and hope you have a great week.